Always a good start to the season when you turn up and you see bees going in with lots of pollen. The weather's nice, and we've even got this. This is where I cut the apiary the other week. It's been dry and I've got free smoker fuel. How easy is that? Isn't it just like living the dream? So it's a wonderful day to get that first inspection done of my colonies. This is actually packed full of bees, this one. You can see the amount of pollen coming in the front there. And they're not all like this, but this is just what I wanted to show you, that what I am doing is we didn't actually take a split from these nukes last summer, at the end of the summer. So these already got 10 frames in. But what I'm doing instead is I'm actually taking out some of the frames because there's just so many bees on. I'm putting in a frame of foundation. They've got so much stores and so much food that I know within about a week, and there's so much brood here. I can show you this. They've even got brood on this androne comb. So this is obviously the exceptional colony. They're not all like this, not all this strong. But when you see frames like this in the end of March, you know that this colony is going to do one on you. You know you've got to sort that out because it's just too strong. Okay, yes, it's the weather is up and down. Yes, it's not complete, it's not through the whole box, but it's still a very strong colony. So I've actually taken just up the same line here. I've done all those hives, I've equalized them out, taking a frame of virtually emerging brood and giving it to a colony that has just enough bees or more bees than it needs to cover that brood, because there's no point in giving a frame of brood to a colony that's weak thinking it's going to hatch out, because if they can't cover those bees at night, the brood will die before it emerges. And that's the key to it. You've got to be so careful what you're doing this time of year. We're going to have 2 or 3 days of warm weather, which is great, but not warm at night, and that's the key. You've got to remember that. I'm already seeing drone brood starting. There's a little bit there. Can probably see that drone brood. I've just found a huge pile on another colony. So even in March we're starting to get some drone brood. There's not a lot yet, but there's a bit. So what I'm going to do with this one, because it's so strong but it's already on 8-9 frames, I'm actually going to take out a frame of honey because there's so much food, and I'm going to give it a frame of foundation. But I've done one the other end, so this one is already foundation here. That's already foundation, so they've got something to build on there, and it's going to use up some of their stores. But they're also going to be munching a lot because they've got a big colony in cold weather. So you've got to remember, yes, if they've got too much honey in the box, you can take a frame out, but always remember they've got to have plenty other, because as that colony gets really big and all those bees are hatching, they're all still relying on the stores they've got from last winter. So that's the key. So let's see what I can take out of this end. Here's this frame. No, that's covered in brood as well. Brood and larvae. These are just lovely bees. They're doing really well. I mean, that center frame's all completely laid up there. It's just not capped over. So I know this end was done a little bit later. So let's have a look at the last one. Can I take the last frame out? Let's see what I've got here. A little bit cold. We've got to be kind of quick. See what the last frame is doing. Have she started laying into that yet? If not, it looks like maybe she hasn't. No, she hasn't. So, but this is a beautiful frame of pollen, and I don't really want to take this out of the colony. You see that? That is a wonderful frame of pollen there. But I know she's got room to lay as well. So I've given them foundation in this one. They're not in this outside frame yet, but the outside frame is full of honey, but they'll probably use some of that honey to build that wax, because there's wax builders going to be emerging now that are going to have. So I have still given this colony space, but I know I've got to be really careful with this colony because it's like doing really well. So what I'll do is I'll note this in my diary. I'll come back next week or the week after, and I will probably take one of my first splits from it, because I know that this is where I've got to be careful. If you don't keep that queen space this time of year, she'll be gone. She will be off. So equalizing is something you can do if you know what you're doing, and I'll just repeat, if they haven't got enough bees in the receiving box to cover that frame of brood that you give it, you're wasting your time and you're just wasting resources, because those bees will die before they hatch. But all my pollen sub, wherever I put it, is gone. I've taken one frame out here. See, there's still so much honey in the frame I've taken out. The other side, they were starting to use lovely comb. See, we get slugs in our hives as well. You can see that there. Get all these slugs that they get pushed to the back of the colony at the end of the... They're no problem at all, but they just kind of slime around a bit over the winter, and you end up, the bees kind of push them away. But look at that beautiful frame there. I mean, that's worth its weight in gold, that, for feeding a nuke. I've just given my bees a little bit of room to work with, even though I know they've got enough for the next week and there's no sign of any swarming. I don't want swarm cups instigated in 2 weeks, and this early intervention will already delay that. So it'll give me time to get back in here after. That's the reality of it. You've got to get on top of your colonies early to make sure that they don't start preparations, because if they're honey bound early, they'll swarm. If you've got too much brood and the rest is just honey and the queen's got no room to lay, because they're suddenly starting to bring in nectar, which could happen any day, but they're not today. They're flying. I doubt they're bringing any nectar at all, because it's just not that warm. It's about 13, 14 degrees. If you don't anticipate that, you really are going to find problems in the middle of next month when you're hoping to get honey and all your bees will be off. I've only learned about this with my bees here fairly recently, that you've got to be so proactive with your bees, and there's no other excuse. If you're getting swarms, there's always something you can do, but you have to do it early. Because once that brood nest gets full of honey, they're going to be making preparations regardless. So this has been a good start. Every colony I've been to is not actually as strong as I thought it might be, but it is healthy and full of pollen, and they're doing really well. So I've got a couple of dead outs here that I've just cleaned out, and I'll be because there were new hives here last year. They didn't make it for the winter. Again, I don't know why, but probably varroa. It could have been that we had quite a few Asian hornets around this area as well, even though my traps are there. I'm doing that as well this week. We're actually re-priming our traps, getting them. They have got some dead Asian hornets in from last summer, and if you can maybe see it on this one, sometimes they get a bit cloudy. You can see there's a load of manky Asian hornets in there. And then so I'll be washing that out. I've got some 2 watering cans on my truck with bleach in. Give it a quick swish around, and next week we'll be setting our traps. We'll probably set them this week, but it'll be mainly next week as well. I've got a load, as well as these bottle traps I used to use. As they kind of wear out and go into disrepair, I'm going to be changing them for brand new traps, and then that will be great. So this apiary is good, it's done. I've got another 12 to do, so this is the first inspection. What I'm seeing, I'm happy. So I've got all my frames ready, but this is one of the apiaries I didn't make splits from last year, so now I've got extra frames to go into the next lot, and that's what I do. I am being very careful with my hygiene this time of year. I've taken my gloves off over there, obviously they're on top of the hive, but I will plunge them into this bleach. In goes my hive tool. That's what I use between every apiary. My hands are washed, my hive tool's washed. If I'm at all worried about any brood I find in any dead outs that are still just being used and cleaned, then I will bleach and wash my hands between each colony. But all these are lovely frames that I spent diligently loads of time over the winter to look at the quality of them. Look, they're all absolutely perfect, lovely straight frames, and really pleased to be able to use them, because it's a resource that I put the time into, and everything is kind of really good like that. So that's this apiary done. Now I'm off to do the next one. and I've got hopefully 3 or 4 more to do today, but everything is great. I can get in this apiary. The ground has dried out. It's on a hill, I know, but it's absolutely fantastic that we can get in. So first I'm going to collect some smoker fuel though, because this is like a resource you don't want to miss this time of year. I buy this hay when I'm desperate from the local shop. It's all right, it's just chopped hay, but it's a bit of a pain. It doesn't burn like this stuff does. This is like absolutely brilliant, and it's free, and I cut it myself, and it's like exactly what you need to burn in your smoker. But I mix this with granules, with wood granules, so you get the grass giving the smoke, and you get the granules maintaining the heat once it's lit. Takes a little bit of time to get it going, but it's the best stuff you can get. So on we go. Happier bees, flying in the sunshine, bringing in loads of pollen. All good. I've actually got one there as well that I didn't mention before, but that is gone not drone laying, it's a queenless colony, but there's a lot of bees in it. So what I've done is I've actually added a frame of brood, because I've got 3 or 4 colonies here that are really strong in this line, and I've added a frame of brood to it. There's a lot of drones. There's too many drones at the moment. It's well gone. They won't make, I doubt they'll try and make a queen cell with the eggs and larvae that I gave them, but because I gave them more capped brood. But there's enough bees in that colony to keep that brood warm that'll hatch. That'll then flood that with nurse bees, and that'll maintain the number of bees. But the brood presence will switch off laying workers, which it is at the moment. And in another week or 2 weeks, I'll come back and give it 2 frames of brood again, or 1 frame, whatever I can find, but there's likely to be loads of brood available. So this colony was a good one to try and save. I've got 2 rocks on it, so I know that it's that colony. It's the way I mark things. It's just quick for me. It works. But I'll give that a queen when my queens come in about 3 weeks' time. So that will be ready to receive one. It'll be queenless, and the brood pheromone will have switched off the laying workers, and they'll accept a new queen then, but they won't do it now. If I put a queen in there, she'll be dead within about 2 hours. Absolutely killed outright. There's just too strong a drone presence. You need to get rid of your laying females. That's the issue. But I've corrected that now, and it's another thing I've done. It's just what you do in the spring. Occasionally you have all sorts of things you find. You find laying workers where the queen has died and the females have taken over, and then you get a lot of drone obviously in the frame. But having drones is a good thing. I've got good supply of drones here for this time of year. So say another colony decides to supersede, at least there's an early supply of drones around. Whether they'll be ripe or not, I don't know. But it just adds to the pool. So that's another good thing done. So here we are at the next apiary. This is a really cool site, this one. I call this my chestnut apiary because it really is chestnut city in the summer. All these trees and like masses of trees all around are all chestnut. But you can see one really good thing here, and that's gorse. This is completely different to the other place I was at, but we still have got blackthorn around. I mean, you just look, when I came in here, first thing I saw was this. I'm like, this is good, you know? That's what I want to see. Bees flying, loads of pollen. Straight away you see the pollen coming in. You're like, good, we're doing all right. This is what I want. I've got 1 nuke to transfer there, which I'll probably do today. They're a bit shitty, but you know, everywhere I look there's bees. There's one dead out there that I knew died out last year, but I'll use that box to transfer that one. So I've got a box here that's done, finished. And just look at this, you know. It's a sea of bees, a sea of pollen. I'm going to do some equalizing here. It's just a joy to be out today in this kind of weather, you know. Wherever you look, the bees are looking good. Looking nice. I need to clear these brambles away before they get going this year. It's another job to do, but it's not overly important. So I'm pretty happy. There's a few weaker colonies, but they'll get the boost if they need it. They're bringing in pollen, so I think they're queen right. We'll see what's what. Strong ones in the apiary, that's what matters. Loads to do. So it's turning into quite a long day, but I knew it would be. Just finished the 3rd apiary, the one where the pigs had dug all this up, and I rotivated it last week. But look at this, this is encouraging. Lots of little seeds growing. That is, I think, facile. So fingers crossed. You can see that. Anyway, we'll see what it's like in a few weeks' time. But I think that's what it is, and I think there's obviously loads been sown. You can see that. It's all really good. So fingers crossed, we'll have a good, nice little extra flowers here in about 6 weeks. But the bees here are flying well. A couple of colonies I've shaken a few bees into to give them a boost. A couple of colonies I've given frames of brood because some are really strong and some are a little bit weak. So what I'm finding is today is that the bees aren't quite as strong as I thought they might be. Not that I'd hoped. I'm actually quite relieved that they're not all bursting out of the boxes. I know we've got some rapeseed coming into flower in the next 2 weeks, but that's fine because in about 2 weeks, then we'll consider putting supers on. It's very mixed in the apiaries, but they will come up. They will. Some apiaries are obviously better than others. This apiary is kind of midway. The one I was at just before, where I said this is a chestnut apiary, that was actually much, much less stronger than the previous one, because that is really in a woodland scenario. That's the kind of more scrubby area, where there's more local shrubs, camellias, stuff like that are planted just over the valley there. So they've got a more consistent supply of food. Everywhere you look, there's blackthorn in flower now, so it's all pretty good. I think there's plenty of food for the bees, and they're going to settle down there. From what I've seen, I'm very happy. It's kind of a relief to get this many bees in boxes compared to last year. So it's all onwards and upwards, and soon we'll have more bees than we know what to do with, because they all grow and do crazy things, as we know bees do. So this one's done. On to the fourth one. I'm going to be doing another one now, which is about 10 minutes away, and that's where I sowed the second lot of Phacelia. So I want to get those ones done today. I've done kind of my furthest ones away first today, so that hopefully I'll have less travelling to do tomorrow, and it's all closer. But anyway, on to the next one. At the fourth apiary of the day, and it is absolutely amazing because it is just full of this stuff, gorse, and there's loads of goat willow. I don't know if you can see up in the distance there, right up there, that's all gorse, that's goat willow there. So I've come in to have a look at these colonies, and they're all absolutely full. I cannot believe it. The nectar flow's been running here for a couple of days, and the difference here compared to here between some other apiaries is unbelievable. I'm actually having to take out frames of uncured honey just to give the bees space, because I do not want them going into swarm mode. I know they're only going to be doing it for a couple of days while the weather's warm, but it's just surprising, you know, how much they are pushing. I've also checked the ground over there. There is some seedlings coming up as well, so fingers crossed that'll be a good. I mean, I did one before just over there, and those are the 2 frames that came out. They're just full of nectar and pollen. I didn't really want to take it out, but I had to, because I want them to build. I've given them something to build. So let's have a quick look. Unreal. So what a surprise this apiary is. I'm going to have to, as I said, I'm going to have to come back and do something rapidly here, because I can't leave this amount of nectar coming into these boxes unhindered. I'm not moaning about it, and it's a fantastic position to be in, but every colony I've actually taken out frames of honey, and I was lifting the frames out and it was like slosh. The nectar was absolutely pouring out. And the reason we're getting that is because this area is so wet, you see. Most of the time you can't get in there till like April. This year it's dried out a little bit earlier, but everything is coming to flower, and it's like a basin here where you get like no wind, and it's like really, really nice sunshine all day, and loads of gorse and loads of blackthorn and loads of more so goat willow, which is absolutely full of it. So good news, that's the 4th apiary done. I'll just show you around here. I've got some nukes to bring to this apiary as well. I've got like 4 that need refilling, these hives. They're all reasonably clean hives, so I'm not going to worry about cleaning out the hives. I'll clean them well by hand when I put the new nukes in, but a strong nuke will clean out anything. I'm very much I'm not anti-cleaning. I just think that bees are very capable of dealing with a lot of detritus in a colony, but I will obviously clear out as much as I can, and if it is dirty, I will take it back and pressure wash it, whatever, as you see me do. But this time of year, when time's running short and you've got to get everything on top of everything, you've got nukes to transfer, dead outs, that are relatively clean, you know, nice frames. I'm not talking about really moldy frames. I'm talking about frames that where the bees have just died, probably from varroa, and there's a small patch of bees left. You maybe get rid of 2 or 3 of the centre brood nest frames, and the rest I know are good because I have been changing my frames regularly. So even though there's no direct link, we know it's good to clean out brood nest frames on a rotation so that every 2 or 3 years you've completely rotated your brood nest. And I've seen people keeping bees where the brood nest is black as the ace of spades. It's like, you know, and nothing seems to be a problem. However, modern thinking is that we should rotate that brood nest. So I kind of totally aware of that, and I'm totally up with, you know, if it needs it, do it. But when you've got brood nests, when you had the winter losses I had last year, and you recovered, and you've still got a few that die out this winter, often those ones that have died out are the ones that you renewed last year. So they're all pretty clean, you know. It's like you've got to take that initiative and use that bit of bonus time you've got. It's like a little, it's not a get out of jail free. It's just a little bit you can get back because you've already done the work. So I've got nukes to bring here. Tomorrow I'm out all day again as well, and I've done 4 apiaries today. This is my 4th, and I'm really impressed by this one. So I almost could take the frames out of this one and take the frames to chestnut land, and they wouldn't even miss these frames. But what I'm probably going to do, as I said, is going to come back and I'm going to make a hive with about 5 hives. Sorry, I'm going to make a hive with about 5 parts per one of these colonies. So in other words, 5 colonies will make up one big ready-made hive and just give it a queen. I've got spare queens, so that's the quickest way to reduce the colony down and keep giving it space. I really don't want to put my supers on. This is the only apiary where I need supers because they're going to run out of space if this weather carries on like this. But I know they've been foraging well for a couple of days, so I'm not overly worried, and I've given them a lot of space. They've all had 2 frames of foundation to draw out as well as what they've got. So they will burn nectar at night because the nights are going to be cold. There could even be a frost tonight, and then next week it's kind of leveling off where it's not cold at night, but it's not hugely warm in the day, sort of 12, 13, 14s. It's all about getting the balance. It's just seeing your bees, and the thing is, you've got to be on the ball. As I said, if you're not looking into your hives in an area where you know it's going to be full of nectar, your hives are going to initiate that swarming impulse pretty damn quick. By the time you get to mid-April, they're going to be like swarm cells everywhere. And by doing what I've done today, just by coming to check, by giving them space, they're going to fill the space you gave it, but they're not going to have that compression that initiates that. That's how I feel about it. I know there's loads of other ways, like changing the queens regularly and using genetics that are said to be less swarmy, obviously. And then you could do things like Pagden or Demare, and you can stop your queen going. But in reality, this is reality here. This is a beekeeper trying to keep bees in the box when you've got 200 colonies and you can't get around everything. You don't have the equipment. Some will go. That's the luck of the draw. But you can change the luck a bit. You can get in there, you can do the work, and you can stop your queens going if you know a few things. So that's all I'm saying, is you get in there early while you can, while the weather's good. You use your time wisely. I could have spent the whole day drinking coffee at the workshop doing other stuff, but I knew I had to be in this apiary, and I'm so glad I came here today. So anyway, I'm going to back home now, bit of tea, and then empty the truck out for tomorrow's load, and then we'll be on doing that again. So hopefully tomorrow I'll get 5 apiaries done tomorrow, and then we'll be nearly round a lot of it. So and then the others I don't think are going to be this strong. But some of the colonies here were absolutely amazing, but really good. I was actually able to give these space. It just shows what bees can do when they catch you unawares. One minute you think they're all dwindling and it's not very strong and it's a crappy winter and it's like, oh my goodness me. Next minute you don't know whether you're Arthur or Martha. So that's what everyone goes through. It's what you've got to be dynamic and do things about. So anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you again soon. Bye for now.